Call this Topsham Select Board meeting to order March 2nd, 2023. Would you all please rise? Pledge of allegiance. The pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Patty, would you call the roll, please?
David Douglas.
Here.
Lee Brilliant. Here. Ruth Lyons. Here. Matt Nixon. Roland Tubbs.
Here.
And we have Mark Waltz, our assistant town manager at the head table also.
We have a town manager's report.
Very brief.
Okay.
All it is as heard in WCME, there has been another lawsuit filed to attempt to stop construction of the new bridge.
Oh,
Derek's worked on a letter to be sent to the National Transportation Administration, and as well as Maine DOT, that he's going to have for you at the next meeting for you to review and hopefully approve. In talks with DOT at the moment, they're still proceeding as planned with the bid process. And that's our update for tonight.
Thank you. Any questions? Open.
In your future conversations with DOT, like, it would be helpful to know how much longer we're gonna be able to keep using that bridge.
yeah.
Or like, just, I think for people in town to know that, would be good.
I suspect the answer will be they don't know. They're doing inspections every 6 months. And then at some point it may not pass my inspections, but I don't think they can really predict when that is going to be.
If it doesn't pass inspection, we gotta go to the guns and get off. Right?
They should at least do a stress test on this. If you had a
It's
major flood going
Right.
through there, what would happen?
What they told us right now is that it's not really a danger of someone going completely through. It's a danger of punching a hole in the deck. So it wouldn't be the point that someone would drop into the river, but it would be the point that would make it impassable. But certainly someone wants to get off the deck.
Because after the first issue, who's gonna have to compensate them?
And from what they were considering doing with last time they were testing it and stuff, or looking at it, probably before complete closure, unless it gets a lot worse, a lot faster than they expect, will be one-way traffic from Topsham to Run, is what they expect.
So you put all the weight on one side.
Well, we're down the middle, I don't know.
well, yeah, down the middle. I like that idea.
Any other questions? Any public comment?
Jim?
Very solid.
Anyone? We don't have correspondence? No.
Honestly, no, not this week.
Yeah. Consent calendar. Approval of the minutes regular select board meeting February 16, 2023. So moved. Second, moved in, seconded, all in favor. Oh, yeah. Unanimous. Right to new business, 23-21, consideration any appropriate action on applying for a grant for community care and medicine risk reduction program, not to exceed $60,000.
Good evening, Chris Wall, Fire Chief. I provided a brief description of this program in my memo, but I can explain a little bit further. Community paramedicine's been around for a while. However, typically it's hard to fund because they need their people on ambulances and no one calls. And most of the people that do community paramedicine are private organizations, but I think the state's realized in order to actually get this off its feet, we're gonna need to provide some funding to help these communities. What this person does is they're not part of our daily staff. They're not on an ambulance. They're not on a fire truck. They are in one of our pickup trucks or our vehicles, and they go around to residents' homes to help them with any healthcare needs in lieu of calling an ambulance and going to the hospital. So a good example is if somebody's having some blood pressure issues and they're following the medications, a lot of times they'll call their doctor. Doctor says, okay, call an ambulance, go to the hospital. Well, instead, our community paramedic would go out and review their blood pressures and take it and review their meds. And they actually work under our medical director, which is our main EMS protocols, but they also work under a primary care physician that we have to sign on with. So they can actually arrange some of those things and help that person instead of calling an ambulance. They'll do fall assessments. They'll go to houses that have a lot of falls and try to fix ways to trip, slips and falls, or look at their meds. They can do flu vaccines. They can do COVID vaccines. They can actually draw labs. They find a person that's disabled, needs a little bit of help after a stroke or after getting discharged from a rehab facility, they can make an appointment to go visit them once a week. So it's kind of like a home health nurse, without going through all the insurance companies. It's a service provided by the municipality, and you don't have to do anything with insurance. There's no billing. It's purely a service. I think Topsham's in great shape for something like this. I expect that, if we do get the grant and it gets approved tonight and we do get it through the state, we'd schedule a day at the Highlands every week to go do walk arounds and, health visits. And there's just a whole slew of things this person can do. I did do most of the application up because I only had like 2 or 3 days after tonight to get it done. So I did have a budget that I drafted the other day. 50,646 is payroll. So that includes FICA, workers' comp, Medicare as well. So it's based on 30 hours a week. That leaves them a 12-hour. They can pick up a per diem shift, 12 hours and work the ambulance, because it's still important to work the truck every once in a while. Because you don't get those trauma calls and you don't get the interaction with the hospital. Yeah, about 4,300 in fuel, 1,000 in training, 1,000 advertising, 2,000 supplies, 1,000 equipment. We have a lot of the stuff, so I don't anticipate we're gonna need to buy a lot. We have pretty much everything we need. Payroll is just the biggest expense. And, if the state's willing to fund this for a year, I think it's worth trying and see what kind of outcomes we get. It may not be as great as I think it is, or it may be fantastic. But until we do it, we have really no way of telling.
Didn't they say 15 months?
They up to 15 months. So part of this is I have to get a designation from Maine EMS to be a community paramedicine. That's going to take me a couple months. Also, by the time I hear back to the grant, hire somebody, go through all the hoops, I'm really looking at July 1. So I wrote it for a 12-month period. That's what I based my budget on, was a 12-month, July 1 to June 30th. There was a clause in there about sustainability. And I purely just wrote that, we're a town meeting, we have a select board. I can't guarantee that funds will be available any year that we send something to, but we'll sit down and evaluate the program and see what kind of interactions we have with the community and whether it's something to keep going after. My hope is the state does this again. They said right in the grant package that the funds aren't here after this year, but my hope is they get a lot of applications and they see a lot of good numbers and they decide to fund it again. That's kind of where I'm hoping this goes, but can't answer that either.
Would the person operating this capacity be covered by the town's liability insurance?
Yes, they'd be a regular employee. Yeah. They just have a completely different role.
It'd be one individual every day.
Well, yeah, and that, I think that's the best way to do it, because they create a relationship with all the people. And if they're not available for the week, then we don't really send anybody else. This is their job, they're kind of the go-to. I might find a backup person to go get some training in case this person leaves or decides they don't want to do it. There are a couple of people in mind that I have, so I don't think it'll be hard to find someone.
Like any program, actually, I think it's a great idea myself. I think it's a great service to our people in Topsham. Like any program, you give it, it gets given, and then the money runs out, and then it's harder to take it away.
Mhm.
So that's the only
Yeah,
thing that I have.
right, I'll do a full program evaluation. Like, I'll go through a formal program evaluation, lay out everything. Worst case scenario, they take it away. This person just takes up per diem shifts instead.
Well, that's
They
true,
just go back to working the truck per diem.
but it's such a great
So-
service, that's what I think.
Yeah, well, I think Topsham set up there. Not every community this is for,
Right.
but I think we're kind of set up for something like this very well. And this is just to apply. No guarantee I even get it.
I would echo what Ruth says, I'm all for it. But I do think of this tonight when I raise my hand. If this has success, if the chief says, hey, this has been good. We're putting another position into a budget,
I would leave it part-time for now too. It's.
Yeah.
Per diem.
but we are,
We will.
I know all the right words to say are, well, we can end it and stuff. If this is a successful program, as we hope it is, tonight is the night you put it in the budget. And next year when it's there, you don't complain about it. 'Cause
I'll have to
you're
come
never
back.
pulling this away.
I'll have to come back to get the grant accepted. That's really the night you decide. Nice, like you said.
Tonight's an easy night to end it.
But under
Yeah.
that circumstance, you would have a business case already built
Yeah,
based on
Yeah.
the data.
Anything else? I will make a motion that we allow the chief to apply for a grant, the community air medicine risk reduction program, not to exceed $60,000. Motion second, all in favor? Unanimous. Thanks, Chief.
Yep, welcome.
Consider 22-23-22, consideration any appropriate action to approve public hearing to review a change in permit fee charges, Public Works. Is that gonna be you tonight, then?
It'll be me for tonight. So Public Works Director Cox looked at some of our fees and thought we might want to raise them, because in theory, the fee helps compensate the town for the expenses involved with an entrance permit, which gives someone permission to put a driveway in the road, as well as a road opening permit, which allows someone to open up the road to connect to utilities or something. Our current fees are $10 for an entrance permit and $20 for road opening, which don't come near the time of the staff cost dealing with it. So Dennis surveyed neighboring towns, and he found Brunswick charges 70 or 50 for a single family, 75 for others. Bath is 50, Lisbon's 150 for an entrance permit. They'd like to propose we raise our entrance permit to 50, and for road opening, Brunswick charges either 150 or 550, depending if it's residential or depending on the time of year. Yeah, seasonal. Probably because it started the day of winter, or hard to put it back right. Bath is 50 and Lisbon's 150. So he proposed raising our fees to 100 for the road opening and 50 for the entrance permit. So he's, if you're willing to entertain it, you'd like to request a public hearing.
I make a motion that we set a public hearing for next meeting, which will be 16 for permit fee changes. Public Works.
Second.
Motion and seconded. All those in favor? Unanimous. 23-23, consideration and appropriate action over limit authorization for MDOT.
So as you may recall from some prior paving projects we've had, the state, when they do a state highway project in town, they request permission, or they ask you, have you give permission for trucks that are higher than the posted limits on the roads to be able to use them because they need to for the construction project. They've now, in conjunction with the Frank J. Wood project, bridge reconstruction replacement project, they would like to ask that permission. So they made that request. We can, if we want, when the time comes, we can ask that the bond or surety to protect the roads. So that's like going along with this tonight, you're not doing that right.
I think we've always required them to do that bonding to protect the roads, and I would certainly say we want to do that again. Now, is this one for a specific project, or is it a year at a time? Because obviously, if this is the bridge, it's a lot more than a year.
It's definitely for the bridge. Let's see if it's the 1.
I feel like we do this every year.
I think it's for different projects though.
Oh, okay.
We did it for the 196 paving.
Yeah, that's true. It was by project.
I don't think I saw a limit in there, but it's just for a year. It's for the project.
Okay. Any other questions?
So if something falls off the back of, let's say, a state truck, overweight, or oversized, and it damages some private property, that come from the bond, or would the state have to deal, or would that person have to deal with the state individually?
So that isn't so much, the damage isn't because it's overweight. That would be the same rule for anything, right? If it falls off the truck.
Well, I don't know, because they're talking about, like, they define oversized as taking more than, like, 8
Sure.
hours to disassemble or assemble or something like that, so it's premised on size of the object, I think is one of the criteria.
There's nothing in this agreement that would, I think, change our liability structure with the people. So I guess it would come down to whether it could fall under the Maine Tort Claims Act, and whether they would have liability against the state. Otherwise, they wouldn't. They may not.
Ah. That's fun.
Don't you dare slow down this bridge.
John.
I'll say it publicly.
So do we have a requirement for private pavers that are doing construction projects on the established roads?
Right now, they would, or if it's not a state project,
No, I'm just saying, you say they're going on existing roads for new development. And there's impact to the roads, is anything there to back it up if we say there's like that?
they can't violate the posted limit. So ordinarily, no one can violate it. This is a special exception for us.
I'm just thinking of year-round use, actually.
So the general people using the road, yeah, there's no,
No, but I'm talking about where there are steady streams of construction vehicles going over the road, you visibly causing damage to the road. So I just, there's an impact to something, when I saw Dennis, I tried to think of this again.
we currently don't have anything like
I
that.
know, it's maybe something to think about.
Yeah, would have to go to ordinance probably.
Anyone else with questions? Anyone want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we sign or provide the Maine Department of Transportation with permission to use overweight trucks to transport equipment and supplies across town roads in the area of the Frank J. Wood Bridge during the construction of the bridge project.
Second.
Motion seconded, all those in favor? 23, 24, consideration any appropriate action on the appointment to Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee. This evening, we interviewed Robin Brooks for a position. Any questions or comments? I make a motion that we appoint Robin Brooks to the CPIC, the Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee. Motion seconded, all in favor? Executive session 23-25. Enter executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection 456C to discuss acquisition of real property or economic development. Okay. Like Chief, do I have a second to go into executive session? Motion seconded, all in favor? Unanimous.